Well, first of all, Amber, I have to get my head around the fact that Michael's in Mosul and I'm not there with him the last time we were together over there. But his analysis of the situation is exactly what many of us in the military predicted, that they would delay, ISIS would delay on the eastern side of Mosul, which is a little bit less dense than the western side. They would prepare the bridges, the 5 bridges going across the Tigris River that separate the two sides of the city, and they would defend to the death in the western side. That is an area, as Michael explained, it has the Old Sound, it has sprawling suburbs of more wealthier people, and it has a lot of ghettos and slums. But it also has the international airport and a much larger population base, labyrinthine streets, and they have a lot of the underground markets in the western side. So as the east and the northern attack by the Peshmerga and the Iraqi security forces are converging on the city from those two angles, there's another element that's coming up from the south, more of the Iraqi security forces with reinforcing police. That has been slowed somewhat because they launched from the city of Kiera. It's going to take them longer to get there. So that's why you've seen this little bit of an operational pause this week with the forces inside of Mosul. But even though the Iraqi security forces are ahead of schedule on the eastern side of the town, they are in for a fight. I'm convinced of that. There are going to be a lot of car bombs, as Michael said, a lot of IEDs, a lot of house-borne IEDs, sniper fire, ISIS moving from location to location in the underground tunnels and through the labyrinthine streets. So it's going to be a long and sluggish fight for the western side of the city. And the Iraqis need to take control of that because that's where they've got to concentrate their firepower and attempt to trap the ISIS fighters. It is being reinforced by some of the foreign fighters, and those are coming from all over the globe. The key ISIS fighters, the ones at the top of the food chain, are getting the hell out of there. They're letting the folks who are going to fight to the death and pop off those suicide vests come in and take their place to make this a bloodier type of battle.
I want to ask you about these 70-some villages that have been liberated thus far. I mean, are you concerned that we're not seeing some troops, I guess, stay behind to secure these liberated villages from ISIS?
No, I'm not, Amra. And I think when you're talking about villages, some of them have a population of a couple of hundred. Some of them are small ranching communities with maybe 10 or 12 mud huts. So when you're talking about villages, you have to get out of the mindset that it's a big suburban area, but it's a small outskirt of the city. So once those towns are cleared and the people, the townspeople, the Moslawis come back in and re-inhabit their houses, the Iraqi forces are pulling in local security forces, police forces, some Peshmerga, some even part of the PMU units to help guard those cities from reinforcements of ISIS back into those towns. But you've got to be worried about that. It's a great question because as ISIS disperses, they are going to go to a lot of other places in Iraq. And some of the Iraqi government are very concerned about ISIS forces going into Kirkuk province or maybe even as far south as Diyala next to Baghdad. And that could become troublesome.
We're almost out of time, but I have to ask you about Raqqa. We heard from Defense Secretary Ash Carter saying that the second front in Raqqa will begin within weeks. I guess my question to you is about the timing. Why now? Why the sense of urgency? Why not wait until after Mosul has been retaken?
Yeah, and it has to do with the ISIS forces are on the move right now. They are scurrying between their two main bases of Raqqa and Mosul and the desert environment of Nineveh province that connects those two cities. And a lot of the tribal fighters are going against the ISIS forces that are moving between Mosul and Raqqa. But if you can surround Raqqa right now, if you can keep them in place, and have the potential to destroy them in that city as opposed to allowing them to go to a bunch of different places, maintain the fact that they do not have freedom of action. That's the critically important point. If they get out, if they live to fight another day, you're just going to have to fight them another day. And I think we want to, the Iraqi and Syrian rebels want to trap them in that city. But that fight in Raqqa is going to be a whole lot more problematic given our relationships with Turkey, the Kurds, and the Free Syrian Forces.